I'm Nancy from Black Sheep Knitting in Needham, Massachusetts. I'm just back from a yarn-filled weekend in Rhinebeck, New York. Well, some of it was in Saugerties and some of it was in Kingston. And I stayed in a fabulous house in Palinville. Who ever heard of Palinville? But there were a lot of fun stories about Rip Van Winkle, lots of laughs, and we stayed in a big 6-bedroom done-over farmhouse, which was just a lot of fun, even with a pool in the back, but it was way too cold to swim, unfortunately, and that would have taken time away from our knitting. The weekend started on Friday at a new event, well, it's their second year, called Woolen Folk. And it was at a fabulous venue right on the Hudson River at a place called the Hutton Brickyards. And I think there's like a spa there and maybe hotel. But it was a spectacular warm fall day with a view out onto the river. And I don't know how many vendors were there, but there were a fair number, that's for sure. And they had, trying to think where I ended up. I know I bought some things from there, but now I bought so many things all weekend I can't remember. But there were some great yarns to choose from and other things, jewelry, so fun things related to knitting. They had they had food trucks, and the one I went to, of course, was the lobster roll and oysters, although I didn't have the oysters. They're not my thing. But the lobster roll was fabulous, and they had a band playing that was kind of a country folk kind of band that was great, with tons of people, and everybody looked like they were having a fantastic time. So from there I was going to go to India Untangled, but I left too late and got lost and never got there. So I regret that. Anyway, the next day, pardon the noise outside, they're continuing to work on the gas lines or something. It's been not fun all summer, I have to say. So Saturday was Rhinebeck, so we set out fairly early. There were reportedly 35,000 people there that day. Lots of people wearing their Alpenglow sweaters, which I did too, which was Andrea Mowry's choice for her Rhinebeck sweater. And there was a big meet-up on the hill where they took a big picture. There were lots of sort of famous knitting people, designers and all kinds of people like that walking around, and people getting their pictures taken with them. There were some friends of ours from the shop who I think, Wilma and Gigi, I think they got their picture taken with every famous person that was there. Amazing food at these places, and then beyond the just incredible yarns to choose from, there were food trucks that were fabulous, and I think I came back 3 pounds heavier. But the sheep and goats and llamas and alpacas were my favorite part. So I spent a lot of time watching the sheep, and they love to be petted. They're just really cute, and there were all kinds of goats. There were even some sheep that I swear were as big as a pony. I mean, I thought I could get on and ride this thing. They were huge. I don't know what breed they were. There were lots of different breeds. And they paraded the llamas and alpacas around, and they tried to make them do little courses like a dog would do, but they weren't all that willing, I don't think. So some of my favorite yarns are the yarns that I bought. I bought yarn to make a skirt, and you'll see that at some point, from Bare Naked Wools, designed by Ann Hansen, and I'll show that at some point. And there's another vendor that I really liked, which was Garthenor Yarns, and they're from Wales, West Wales, I think, in the UK. And hopefully I'm going to get that. I'm on his wait list now to get that yarn in the shop. And then I bought just some things from some small farms that just do small amounts, beautiful things. They have a bookstore from somewhere in New York State nearby always has a huge display of books that are related to knitting and crocheting. And the two women from Mason-Dixon, or they're not called that, Modern Daily Knitting, were also there. They were signing books. And Patty Lyons, who has a new book out, which I'm blanking on the name, was there signing, and by the end of the day, I think she was sold out. They had kids' books about sheep and things like that, and lots of, they had, Pom Pom always has a display, so they had their latest issue of Pom Pom there, which of course I had to get. So there were lots of things like that to buy. Then there were lots of people buying fleeces, so they had those all on display. I couldn't tell you how many vendors there were, and there were some empty spaces, so I'm guessing there were people who got COVID and couldn't come. Probably the most popular one of all was Miss Babs. Everybody flocks to Miss Babs. So right away there was a huge line for her. And there were some, Feederbrook Farms was another one. They do a plied yarn that is that's like dyed in the wool. So I think it might be the same gauge, I'm not sure. And she had, on Saturday, she had a ton of it, and I thought, well, I'll come back, I want to get something to make a shawl with it and see how I like it. I came back on Sunday and it was almost all gone. Although it was so beautiful, I had no problem finding something that I really liked. There were people selling printed, we got some really fun tea towels I got one that has Ruth Bader Ginsburg's face on it, and they had ones with Michelle Obama. And so we found that. And then there are woodworkers who come and do little tools, like hand spinning tools, and there were lots of weaving going. There was some weaving going on, but there were looms you could buy or spinning wheels. And there was a demonstration inside one of the buildings of people spinning and then weaving or knitting with the yarn they had spun. There was also a whole building filled with sort of gourmet, things like maple syrup and candles and alcohol and lots of goodies. I sort of stayed away from that. In any case, I think it's there are people who go year after year and buy a year's worth of yarn, which is good. I mean, they may not live near, yarn shops. It's a great place to just people watch, because everybody has on these amazing knitted garments. It's just, that part of it was so fun, and I could just park myself and watch all day long. There were a lot of questionable knits, I should say. So there were some that I don't think I would have knit or worn, but the great thing is everybody was having a good time and enjoying it. There were lots of men there, men who were knitters and men who were with their spouses, who were dutifully going around with their spouses looking at yarn and carrying bags. Our very own Agnes, who works here, was there with her husband, and I think he was toting her bags full of yarn. And we did see other people from the shop, so that was a lot of fun. You see some of the same people every year. We did find our way back over to a Perfect Blend yarn shop, which you've heard about, that I've been there before, and you wouldn't think I would need to buy more yarn, but I did buy a project there, and my friends that I was with, they all had bought stuff. She has a beautiful shop, and she was having a trunk show of Emma's yarns, which I'm hoping to have in the shop here. We'll see if that happens, but beautiful hand-dyed yarn from actually a young woman who lives in Florida. Anyway, so we had a great time. This is probably my 4th time there, and I'm sure I'll go again next year. It's a beautiful time of year to go to New York State. The drive out the Mass Pike was spectacular. I've never seen a fall that was more beautiful. Just brilliant reds and oranges and bright, bright yellows. So just for the ride alone, it was worth it. But And I did stop in my favorite little town on the way home in Hudson, New York, which if you haven't been there, I recommend it. It's just a great little town. Lots of shops, cute places to eat, kind of funky and old and great place. So that was my Rhinebeck weekend. I came back with some ideas. First, I wanted to show you some favorite things from the shop that I may not have shown before. These, I don't know if anybody has seen Fiola's new bags. And this is a great little bag that you can put over your arm. If those of you who like to walk around and knit, this is perfect. But it's also just a perfect bag that sits up, carries a good, good amount of yarn. And she has them, and these are llama. She's got a bunch of different styles, different colors. So that's a great little gift for someone, or if your husband or kids are trying to think of something to get you for the holidays. It's a perfect little big bag, and it's very lightweight. So that's one of my favorites. And then again, I always find the things from Cocoa Knits wonderful. This is a yarn snip, and these are great to have. You just, for snipping just little bits of yarn, it's a great little tool, and it comes with this protective leather sleeve. So I recommend that. It's always good to have in your little toolbox of things. And lastly, Cocoa Knits makes these great little yarn clips. And these are really fun for when you're putting things together. You can use these little clips to hold pieces together when you're getting ready to sew something, and they stay on. I love the pins, but they slide out, and these don't slide anywhere. They're going to clip right onto what you're doing, and they'll be, oops, that's my phone. Sorry, folks, it'll go off in a second. And it's, of course, spam. I don't know about you guys, but I get spam all the time. It drives me crazy. Anyway, comes with 12 of these little clips, which is great for putting together sweaters or things like that. So those are my today's recommendations. And then I thought I would look up some patterns for some fall knits. So there's some new patterns that are out that I thought were great for fall knitting. This one is called Grace Notes Pullover, and it's a beautiful cabled sweater by Joji Locatelli. And it's got cables in the back. I don't think I must have a picture of the back. Here is the back. If you can see, there are cables on either side coming down, emanating from the shoulder. And it's a really pretty cable, I think. And it's done in a worsted at 20 stitches over 4 inches. So I looked at what I thought, one of our yarns that I think has really good stitch definition. And if you look at this, you want those cables to really show up. So the yarn that I recommend for this is our Sueño worsted, which is a mixture of superwash merino and bamboo. So it's nice because it is a superwash. This one is just called gray, which I think would be nice, those of you who are like into neutrals. This one is called mulberry. It's a very rich sort of red Merlot kind of color. Another one that I thought was pretty is called Shamrock. Lots of people are doing green, pretty greens these days. I like that one a lot. And this one is called Ballet Slipper. Very beautiful pink. And this one I think is slated. Yep, this is one of my favorites. I love that color. And Another one of my favorites, this is Rust. To be very pretty. And all of these, the cables would show up really, really well. And this is Silver Sage. That's a very popular one in the store. And finally, and we have other colors too, I didn't bring them all out. This is called Smoky Rain, which is lovely, and very similar to what she's used here in this. I like Hohi's patterns. They're easy to read, easy to do, and I think they fit pretty well. So I recommend that. The next one that I came across, and so a lot of you have done the Pressed Flowers shawl, which we loved. We had a great response to that in the shop. Well, she's now done a cardigan in it, which is very pretty, I think. And it's again in a sport weight, and you can see more of views of it here. So I thought I would get some combinations together for that. Oh, I didn't put these back in the, shame on me, together to do it. So it calls for a sport weight, and they use dyed in the wool, our favorite spin cycle, and another sport weight. So I put together some combinations. This is the Lannis Light in lavender, and I just thought those were pretty, and this would pop out nicely as the flowers. And because the spin cycle are striped, you get different colors of flowers all over the sweater, which is fun. So I have that combination. Then I chose, this is Patagonia, which is a great sport weight. And this one, this spin cycle, is called Rosy Maple, which has nice reds and purples in it. I didn't say the name of this other dyed in the wool, which is called Overshadow. And it's got purples and blues and light blues in it. And then this is the Patagonia in Cinnamon with Ranunculus in spin cycle. I thought those were pretty. I think they would be a nice contrast popping color. And lastly, we have lots of other combinations, but these are just ones that I pulled out. And this is called Mulberry in the Patagonia. And the spin cycle I chose to go with that is called Wallflower. And that is those are those. You could, I suppose, if you wanted, you could use 2 different colors of spin cycle so that you'd get more variety colors in your flowers, because that's the fun of it, the colors showing up in the flower, the different flowers. So that's that pattern, and this is of course on Ravelry. It's I think $7. It's by Amy Christoffers. She does designing for Barocco, I believe. So, and then finally, our very favorite person, Petite Knit, has come out. We showed you the little Sophie scarf, which was the little scarf that came around your neck. And so she's decided to do a shawl, the Sophie shawl, which is bigger. So, excuse me. The little scarf was done in a sport weight, I believe. And this is now in, she's doing it in a worsted. And this is this, you can see the size of it better in this picture. Now, as with any scarf, you can decide to do it in different weight yarns. You don't have to do the same thing. What you do have to consider that if this is 17 stitches over 4 inches, well, suppose you wanted to do a DK weight that's 22 stitches over 4 inches. Well, how would you adjust? Number one, you would look at your yarn and use the needle that your yarn suggests. And then you have to assume, because you are doing a thinner yarn on a smaller needle, it's going to be smaller. So you can adjust that in different ways. You could, this is a, this starts at the one tip of the scarf and goes to the center, and I think it goes straight for a little bit in the center part. You could continue increasing a little bit more to make it a little wider if you wanted it larger. And then you could, in that center part where I think there's some portion that you're knitting straight, knit that longer, and then again, you'd have to keep track of how much more you increase so that you decrease at the same rate on the other end. Or conversely, make a smaller scarf. It's not a big deal. Or you can make a bigger scarf and using a heavier weight yarn. But you don't have to be stuck with, if you see them, you say, oh, I like it, but I don't want to do it in a worsted weight or whatever weight. So you can make those adjustments, and we can always help you here in the shop to do that. So what I chose for this, which is a super soft yarn that we love. It's the Katia Concept series in their cotton merino. And this is a color called Coffee, which is a light taupe. This has this wonderful fuzz, and it's super soft. It's just amazing. I think what they do, this is kind of a chainette thing where they blow, the cotton gets blown into this, or the merino does. Maybe the chainette is in the cotton and the merino gets somehow by some machine gets blown in, and then it's all fuzzy on the outside, but it's not, it will not be scratchy. This is called Cardinal, and we have this beautiful creamy white called Cream, which is, this is, you know, who doesn't need a white scarf, because it goes with everything. It sort of sets your face aglow. It's really a good thing to have for a scarf. This one is Black. They're very creative with their names. This is Black. And I think I made a sweater with this stuff, which I just love it. And we have a blue. We also have a few other colors. I didn't bring them all out. This is called Blue. Again, a very creative name. It's a very pretty blue, I think. And finally, I brought out Smoke, which is a pretty light gray. So, I recommend those. It's an easy knit. It's one of those things that you can just sit. You always need to have a project that's a little bit mindless knitting. I enjoy a mindless knit, particularly if I'm watching TV and I just don't want to think. Maybe I'm interested in what I'm watching on TV. And what I find with these sort of mindless knits, they go very fast because you don't really realize you're knitting. And I've gotten to the point where if I'm just doing simple stockinette, I don't really have to look at my work. If I'm doing, you know, cables or lace or anything else, I do have to look. But I've trained myself to do that. And we did have a workshop here with a guy named Bruce Weinstein, who was teaching people to do that, and he brought blindfolds and made everybody put on a blindfold and knit with their eyes covered. So you can learn to do it. And I sometimes, if my eyes are really tired, I'll just close my eyes and knit, which is a little weird, but it gives me a little bit of a rest, and I keep, you know, your hands get this memory, and that you can just keep doing it. So those are my little hints and tips and ideas for today. I hope now that it's getting chillier that everybody will, those of you who put your knitting down for the summer, you'll pick it up again and start knitting and look for new projects. We have new projects all the time, and we're getting new yarns in off and on. We'll probably all winter long we'll probably be doing that. We still will have on Friday afternoons, we've had a sit and knit, and we were doing the Alpenglow sweater on Friday afternoons. Anybody who's still working on it, you know, do come. Or if you want a quiet place to sit with nice people to work on a project, we'd love to have you. People start to trickle in around 3 o'clock. It's a fun afternoon thing, and it's concentrated knitting time where you're not getting up to put dishes in the dishwasher or change, you know, loads in the laundry. You can just come here and quietly knit and meet nice people and sit amongst beautiful yarn. So that said, I hope we'll see some people tomorrow at 3. Oh, and don't forget, we have this special that we're offering. If you follow us or subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can email us and tell us that you've done that, and we'll put your name in a drawing for a $100 gift certificate. I think we'll be drawing those in November. So if you've already signed up and you subscribe to us, get a friend to sign up. Get your husband to sign up. Get your kids to sign up. It helps us with the numbers that we get. It helps us a great deal. So we hope that you'll do that. We hope you continue to watch our videos and that you find them useful and instructional sometimes. I didn't have much to teach you today, but I'll find something for next time. So I hope everybody has a great week of knitting and getting ready for Halloween. So take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.